I think the city made a mistake as far as with the restaurants. I think when we're in a pandemic, we're in a triage mode. We need to do everything possible. They should have done everything possible to make business easier, to open up the codes, if you will, and allow some grace and understanding, because everything was different during the pandemic. We should have let the businesses do what they needed to do within reason and move forward. Let them have business. Let them survive. I don't know why we would be so expensive, I guess, to put a tent over the parking lot and have business. That makes no sense to me. I think we need to be more understanding. As far as going forward with business, I think small business in general, Johns Creek is deemed as being extremely difficult to do work here. So going forward, as Stacy mentioned, we need to understand where are the hurdles, where are the milestones, where are the roadblocks to doing business in Johns Creek. This is a licensing process, is it a certification process, or is it just a matter of maybe the sign ordinances need to be changed to be more understanding, give the businesses more runway to get up and running? Is it some tax abatements that they need to get running? We just need to understand where the challenges are and why there's a sentiment out there about Johns Creek being very difficult to do business with.
Okay, moving on. Newtown Park Amphitheatre, which is a relatively new structure, has to be rebuilt. In 2018, the residents witnessed an attempt to shrink the size of the lanes on Route 141 under the pretense of safety, only to be found that this was an attempt to build a 6-lane highway. These are just two examples of what the contracted Public Works Department, run by Jacob Engineering, has done. Does this seem to be a conflict of interest to what the residents want? Why are we the only North Fulton city still using a contracted department?
That's a very, very, very good question and very complicated. Jacobs Engineering, over the course of years that they've been established from 2006, they're an outsourced company. They actually helped Johns Creek get up and running by having experts on the bench pull them into different areas of the city that was needed during that time. But over time, we will build, we will learn, we will grow organically. We will acquire the knowledge organically, and we may have to look at that Jacobs contract again. What are the deliverables? What is it costing us? When's the contract up for renewal? There's no easy answer here. We have to look at the long-term strategy, what we're paying for that contract, and where do we want to be in 10 years from now? Do we want to be self-sufficient? If the answer is yes to that question, how do we get there? It doesn't happen overnight. Jacobs adds enormous value to the city, but they're very expensive also. We need to understand that. Part of what will help Johns Creek is when we go fully live with the ERP system, which is the Enterprise Resource Planning System, we can have the contracts in the system, we can manage them more effectively, we can have standards built into the ERP system, so when we're doing actual development, we can actually do the checks and balances to make sure that the vendors are actually delivering to the contract and that there's no sleight of hand, if you will. Thank you.
Right, Stacey, let me read that to you. The Newtown Park Amphitheatre, which is a relatively new structure, has to be rebuilt. In 2018, the residents witnessed an attempt to shrink the size of the lanes on Route 141 under the pretense of safety, only to find that this was an attempt to build a 6-lane highway. These are just two examples of what the contracted Public Works Department, run by Jacobs Engineering, has done. Does this seem to be a conflict of interest to what the residents want? Why are we the only North Fulton city still using a contracted department?
Okay, so we definitely need to weigh the benefits and the cost to see if it's worth it to bring the departments in-house or not. I don't know what that looks like right now because I I don't know what Jacobs is getting, and I don't know what it would cost to bring these employees in-house, and what it would do to our tax dollars. So we need to review that. There are some pros. There's pros and cons to both, so we just need to sit down and really look at that. We do have the benefit of getting lots of experience when we pay for Jacobs, but I think there is a reason why other cities transition and bring everything in-house. But we'll just have to look at the contract and go from there. Thank you.
Okay, changing subjects again. What are your thoughts about the use of deadly force by police officers? When a suspect suddenly points a gun at a police officer, do you believe the officer is justified in using deadly force?
Okay, so in high school in Gwinnett County, I got to do the Police Explorers. Until you do the job alongside an officer, you have no idea what they're going through. You can train all day, but in that split second, they have to make a decision sometimes, whether it's their lives or the perpetrators. There's other things we can do, and I talked to Chief Mitchell about, like is happening in City of Marietta. They are using Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to train their officers, to give them the confidence to be mentally and physically, to be able to take down anybody and non-lethally. So I'm excited that Chief Mitchell was saying that they were looking into that, and I would urge them to, but at the end of the day, I mean, they're human, and unfortunately, mistakes happen.
So on with a police officer that's in a situation where someone pulls a gun out, the decision happens very, very quickly, and it's instinctual. There's very little thinking that occurs at that split second. So the best I would suggest is making sure that the police are well trained, the best they can possibly be. Put more money in the budget to train them over and over again, so it becomes 100% conscious, and give them the tools, tasers, guns. They do have the body cameras. They're fully loaded with body cameras. The lights go on in a car. The body camera automatically turns on, so you're videotaped. So you're discouraging someone to basically comply. But at the end of the day, if someone pulls a gun, I'm not going to sit here and question his motives or question his training. I got to rely on him. He was hired to do a job. He's been trained properly. He's been given the tools, and I want him to perform and be safe.
Thank you. So, Larry, I'm going to keep you up here. I'm going to ask you to make a long answer because I want to run and see if there are any more questions in the basket. And unfortunately, your opponent's not here tonight. But the question is, what is the biggest difference between you and your opponent?
That's a very good question. So here we sit, myself and Stacy. We don't have an opponent. So I think if you're going to stand in front of the citizens, and ask for their vote, and I think you have to be 100% transparent. Like I said before, it's not an experiment. This is real life. You can't just hide and go on social media. You have to talk about your experiences and what you will do and the commitment that you'll have to the citizens. It's not about a political statement as we sit here and run for office. November 2nd, when everyone goes away, and for every 2 weeks that you go on that city council and you actually get the work that you're supposed to read, you're supposed to do and understand it, and ask intelligent questions while you're on council, not just show up. That's the commitment that will separate someone from another. If you're not here reaching out to the residents, responding to 10 simple questions. We've been up here for 2 hours, 10 simple questions, and someone's not willing to provide an answer or show up for a debate. Where do you go with that? I mean, transparency, experience, and who do you trust, I think, differentiates
there were no more questions in the basket, so Stacey, I'm going to let you answer this one, and then we're going to do a 5-minute wrap-up where each of you can give a closing statement.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to repeat the question, I got it. So thank you for the question. There are many differences between my opponent and I. And the most obvious, I have been serving the community since 2013. And the second, like Larry stated, I'm extremely accessible. I respond to emails, I show up to debates, I answer questions that come from Johns Creek residents. I don't shy away from that. And third, I was actually super shocked to hear at the last debate that she is very much in favor of putting multifamily housing anywhere she can in Johns Creek. She wants to change the zoning laws. It's all on tape, and I was just as shocked as you are. So those would be the extremely stark differences between my opponent and I. Thank you so much for all these questions.
Okay, so that is all the questions. Larry, we'll let you do the wrap-up, and then Stacey, you can do the wrap-up.
You got 5 minutes.
I don't think I'll take all that. So I started this evening with one simple question: as who do you trust? And I alluded to it just in the last question. When the dust settles, okay, and we all go home, we go back to our lives, we have to understand that the promises and our views on subjects are solid. There's absolutely no wavering. I've been involved with so many contracts and so many different situations that if I say I'm going to do it, 99% of the time, that's where I'm going to be. So being predictable and reasonable and understandable, I think is important for anyone on council. We're going to have to work with each other. We're not going to always agree. You, as citizens, you will not always agree with my decisions. But rest assured that the core foundation of any decision that I will ever make will be you. So you will be the common denominator going forward. How does it impact you, your family, your property, your lifestyle, your future in Johns Creek? Being in real estate, I am constantly looking at how do I deliver value. Because if I don't deliver value to you, guess what? Someone else is. So I humbly ask you tonight and on November 2nd for your vote. And I'm humbled to stand in front of you today, and I never thought I would ever be in a political race in my life. That wasn't my career path. But here I am. So, and doors open up and you walk through them. So it's a heavy lift, but I assure you, I will do what I say and I will get the job done for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Stacey?
So in closing, this is the 4th largest race in the state of Georgia. There is a lot at stake. If you like your lifestyle, please vote for me. I promise I will fight for you. I will fight to make sure our quality of life is maintained. I will be accessible. I have the time. I may not have all the answers, but I promise you I will do the work and I will do the research. And you may not always like my decisions, but I will always listen to you, no matter what. My door is always open. So please, but I care. I deeply care. Nobody asked me. No party asked me to do this. My phone wasn't ringing off the hook saying you got to throw your hat in the ring. I love our city, and I promise you, I don't know what we'll do if I don't win and our city goes the other direction and we have apartments on every block. I guess we'll have to move, but the choices are getting really slim. So I just can't urge you enough. Know who you're voting for. Please do the research. And thank you so much for your time tonight. Especially thank you to Ann and Tom for putting this together. I really appreciate it. Have a great evening and drive safely.
Thank you to both very much. Thank you everybody for coming out. We're hoping to have the video up in a day or two on our YouTube channel and the debates series. And also next Tuesday will be the 3 candidates, and next Thursday will be 2 candidates, and then the whole series will be wrapped up. but we've learned over the years of being frustrated is how this all began, because we just couldn't find out who these people were that were going to run our local government, which affects us mostly. Most of us, and the largest asset that we have in our lives, but it's also our families and our lifestyle. So I think it will be a great opportunity, and if you want to read it, brush up, you can go onto that YouTube channel now. We've got 2 mayoral debates on the candidates on there already. So thank you again. You're all part of the process. Send us more questions. We love them. And this is the best access you're ever going to get to find out what you're going to have. Okay? Thank you again.